In Allie McCullough's November 19th entry in her diary, she mentions accompanying her mother to the depot, who was en route to Detroit. Allie states that she did not see any very nobby fellows, which is a suspicious term, but it was used most popularly probably by Harriet Beecher Stowe and My Wife and I. In this passage I'll read, it's mentioned twice, nobby as not fellows, nobby fellows, but nobby fellows once and nobby once. Oh, you be hanged with your article. Come along. What's the use of a fellow's shutting himself up with books? I tell you, Hal, if you're going to write for folks, you must see folks and folks must see you. And you must be around and into and part of all that's going on. Come on. Why, you don't know the honor done you. It's a tip-top select party, and all the handsomest girls and all the nobby fellows will be there, and no end of fun. Sydney's place alone is worth going to see. It's the crack place on the river, and then they say the engagement is going to be declared, and everybody is wild to know whether it is or it isn't to be, and the girls are furbishing up fancy suits to croquet in. Miss Alice treated me to a glimpse of hers as I met her on Tullygig's steps, and it's calculated to drive a fellow crazy. And so come now, said Jim, pulling away my papers and laying hold of me. Let's go out and get some gloves and proceed to make ourselves up. We have the press to represent, and we must be nobby. So hang expense. Here's for Jovin's best, and let tomorrow take care of itself. There's also a mention in the American, I don't know what year this is, but it states, we have full lines in smooth goods in brown, wine and blue kerseys that the young nobby fellows want and that are scarce. They are well worth a visit, if only to get posted in the newest styles. Let me see what year that is. 1884, University of Wisconsin owns that. Let's see, where My Wife and I think it was originally published in the 1860s. Could be wrong. It says 1899, but I believe that's just that edition. Anyway, it doesn't matter because we're not going to know where it originated unless she speaks of it. In an article in the Terre Haute Weekly Gazette, which is from November 2nd, 1876, in the same time frame, which Allie was writing. There's a rather long article. The Nobby Fellows. America swells abroad. American swells. They were calling them swells as well as nobbies. American swells abroad, and what is thought of them? All right. Come on. Get off there. Nope, it's not going to let me get off this. Their tailors make them what they seem, and they finish themselves by extravagance and clubs. From the London World. Yeah, I'll just hold it off to the side here. Nope, it just won't let me get out of it. There we go. As to the outer man, he is a good deal more French than English in his cut. It is due, one may surmise, to the influence to his womankind, who, having found their idea dressmaker in Paris, have led him to believe that the idea tailor must live under the same heavens. Their indiscriminate praises have clouded a naturally fine judgment, and he pays for his error in looking only half like an Englishman, only as much like one, in fact, as own flesh and blood must do. That Frenchman nips him up too much at the waist, and curiously enough, I don't know what that means, if it's supposed to be enough, exhibits in this particular branch of high art a defect of that quality which is so conspicuous in the painting of the country, a due appreciation of breadth of effect. They work in our best broadcloth too on the other side, but they have a way of treating it that makes it look narrow. Our swell feels, without knowing what is the matter with him, or with them, and with a characteristic aversion to total self-surrender to chosen guidance, he tries to do something on his own behalf. Massiveness is wanting everywhere, and to obtain it, he pads himself in one place, the shoulders. These in their seeming are quite square and flat. They form a rectangle with the line of the neck. You must make bookshelves of them. They are so free from the slightest tendency to a natural slope. These hidden epaulets give him a strange wedge-like appearance, which is the one thing peculiar to himself. In all else, he is a mere outcome of the evolution of European styles. There is one thing to be said for the padding. It is a far shorter cut to the effect of manliness in form than either cricketing or boating. This determination to find a new way to old world results is eminently American. We make no apology for taking his mind only in the second place. We are describing a swell, and to have begun with anyone but the tailor's part of the man would have been equivalent to a fault in accent. Besides, the natural want of resolution makes us prefer to leave our greatest difficulties to the last. With him, as with his fellows, that ruling passion which is the clue to all windings of character and opinion is exceedingly hard to discover. The search for it reminds one of some of the puzzles of vivisection. You cannot find out his vital part. Cut every source of spiritual activity away from him, and he still lives a swell. He can exist without an interest in life, enthusiasm, culture, even wit, as well as any man on this side of the ocean. Our New World man's point of departure from his European prototype is perhaps that of a keen aptitude for business, when it suits him to show it. He can hide it as well as our dandies hide their inconvenient heritage of chivalry. But the thing is there within him. He had it from his father. It is in all the society around him. He learned the trick of it with a most curious purpose before he took to his prettier manner of careless ease. What an awful job of spacing here. And in the community in which the want of smartness is as the want of air, it still stands him in good stead. Luckily, New York has no Temple Bar, and you may be seen in any part of the city in daytime if only you come back to the right quarter at night. He drops in at Wall Street as well as his club. Railways are not even an affected mystery to him. He knows his way about in mines in some respect better than those who move in them with Davy lamps. Railways are not even an affected mystery to him. Well, that's what Allie was looking for. When you meet him on this ground, take care of yourself just as you would be prepared to do if you encountered a guardsman on the battlefield. The very show of indifference is gone. He is on the lookout for scalps, and he would take yours as readily as his own brother's. His later subsistence into languid calm is as striking and beautiful a sight as the kindred change that takes place in tigers after meat. The great trouble of his life is that most of his fellows in American society have not the secret of this transformation. There are no contrasts in their manner. They are forever clawing and growling, even when there is nothing to be got by it. In a word, he lives in a community which it is permissible to talk business after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Strive as he may to find his true mates in nature, he cannot escape the occasional hardship. I like how they just totally missed the L. Hardship of wasting precious hour with men who see in the act of dining a figure of the operations of a stoker. They are fierce, concentrated, pressing in all things, in all places, at all seasons, and his chosen principle of being is that there is a time to be gentle and suave. He finds a few of his own thinking, but not enough to form a society. At no moment of his waking time will the others allow him to believe that he has done with cuteness for the day. There is no repose in the life they lead and would have them lead. Their heels are often enough in the air, but they never lounge with their minds. This drives him to Europe more often than he might otherwise wish to go there. and he picks up critical niceties of accent on his travels that make him and his countrymen still more unfit for another when he comes home. There is no denying it. Native speech is cursed with a twang. Before he went away, he thought it lay not in the tongues of his countrymen, but in the envious mind of the foreigner. It offends him beyond measure as a fault in those whom he loves before all others in the world. But love them as he may, he has to think of himself. And he must travel again, if only for the right schooling of his own tones. Their idiom, too, must bear a part of the responsibility of his involuntary exile. His fellow citizens do guess a good deal too much for a people of the positive type of mind, and they fix by far too many things to be able to fix him long in America. He never leaves home without a determination to improve it on his return. Thus he has brought over the Pall Mall Club bit by bit, and you may find the perfect institution set up in the Fifth Avenue by his observant care. He has not sought to originate. He knows that his race is still in the initiative stage in many of the arts of life, and he has copied our clubs as some of his friends have copied our castles or our cathedrals. The fidelity of workmanship is remarkable, no less in the ornaments and fittings than in the shell of the building. Nothing is omitted, not even the gentle dullness significant of the highest respectability. He has even gone so far as to yawn at the windows by the hour, to show how the institution is to be used. And most wonderful of all, he has produced in this new country, probably by the forcing process, a club fogey. What's a club fogey? Who, to adopt the phraseology of his newspapers, is first class. There is no superior fogey in all Pall Mall. We are mindful of what we are saying. He is abrupt, indolent, selfish, hard on young men, everything that a fogey should be. He is a symbol at once of the power and pride of America. She could have done without the fogey. Nay, it may almost be said that she does not want him, but other nations appear to think their clubs unfurnished without this article, and she has, so to speak, ordered one without counting the cost. One is reminded of the emulous extravagance that led her of late to pay many $1,000s for a Wagnerian march. The man to whom she owes the suggestion, has, in like manner, created the club for her, and is busily creating a cast. But in the course of a generation or so, the finished swell will be sauntering by his unheeded grave, not knowing to whom he owes his pretty ways. Okay, that's an interesting take, which really seemingly said nothing. But yeah, there's your knobby fellows.